Yo, what up, what up? Um, not actually lots to get into. I got to be honest. There ain't that much to get into. It's slow going right now. It's not the way you're supposed to start a show. I've been in a lot of like talk radio presentations, and they always say never tell the audience that there's not that much going on. It's always so much going on, so much to get into. Huge day today, the earth-shattering news coming your way. But I did find the whole two-way player debate, or whatever you want to call it, that took place online yesterday very, very amusing. I found it very, very amusing. As far as Paige Bueckers and Candace Parker goes, and what it represented, what it means, and the definition of a two-way player that came up as a result of all that. Let me first set the context for anybody who doesn't know. So basically, Paige Bueckers playing in Unrivaled, right? Candace Parker on the commentary or in the analyst position afterwards in the studio. And the idea of whether Paige Bueckers is a two-way player comes up. The people that posted it, I guess they saw all the reactions, whatnot, because they deleted a lot of the original posts, so it's hard to find the actual content. So apologies. I'm going to play myself from yesterday, the video, just because I know it has the contents of what Candace Parker had to say. So I'm not trying to like boost myself here, but just so you can hear it.
But she played defense, and that's the biggest thing.
I don't know why everybody's laughing. They laughed at Coach Arieva when he said that in the tournament. I think it's hard, though, when people are so good at one thing to put them over to that two-way player. Like that's an elite group.
Okay, calm down. Not a two-way player yet.
I'm not saying she's
played
there
a little
yet.
defense.
And so there was a little backlash towards there's my ads. I should have let it play and pay myself while I'm doing this. But anyhow, there was some backlash there because of what Candace Parker had to say. And it came about, as a result of the fact that Candace is saying Paige Bueckers is not a two-way player, right? Like, okay. And all of a sudden, people got up in arms. And I, first of all, Candace Parker has made it sort of a mission statement to have the women's basketball space talked about in a similar way that the men's basketball space is talked about, at least from a actual basketball critique, right? And the men's basketball space, the NBA space got to a little bit of a rough patch with inside the NBA, because those guys just like started shitting on the product consistently, and that's the space that Candace occupied. So you don't want to go all the way there, but there's a lot of validity to what Candace Parker is trying to do and what she means and what she's saying, because the WNBA space is Charmin soft and oftentimes completely toxic. I've been doing this a long time, and I've talked sports for a long time, and I've talked basketball for a long time, but not until the women's basketball space did I see some of the reactions that you get in basketball conversation. Like, you could say, Angel Reese is an unbelievable rebounder, but she needs to work on her finishing. Racist! What? Whoa, that escalated quickly, right? You hate, like something about you're a misogynist. No, I'm just talking about hoops here. Wasn't anything about gender. Or like sexuality even comes in. Like Paige Bueckers is not as popular as Caitlin Clark for that. Dog, I didn't even know she was gay, right? Like that was a new, none of that was ever in my sphere when I was giving you my opinions or my takes or my thoughts or breaking down basketball, right? Like, and it doesn't happen on the NBA side. That I've never seen it, you know, happen that way. And that's it's a very, very unique phenomenon, and it's quite frankly sometimes scary and startling how quickly it comes to the forefront on the women's basketball side versus when you're actually giving a basketball take. But what happened with Candace Parker and Paige Bueckers yesterday is really, the Angel Reese fans and the Paige Bueckers fans came together. They joined up and they decided they were going to throw a fit because Candace Parker has been critical of Angel Reese in the past and has made her like sort of persona non grata amongst the Reese's pieces or whatever they're called. And Paige and Angel have developed, a little camaraderie. They're doing brand sponsorship together, things like that. So, there's a bit of, a cohesiveness going on. And then the Paige fans can be like very TikTok-y or whatever. And people got bent out of shape that Candace Parker did not call Paige Bueckers a two-way player. I personally don't think I would call Paige Bueckers a two-way player. A two-way player, in my history of discussing basketball, is a player who you would consider elite on both ends. An elite offensive player and an elite defensive player. And that is reserved, I think Candace mentioned Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, players like that. LeBron James, in his prime, certainly a two-way player, right? But Paige, I think you could say, is maybe an above average defender, an average, I don't know. She tries, but I've never once thought of Paige Bueckers and went, oh, defensive stalwart, or thought about defense, right? And that definition got thrown about. Like, I mean, in the WNBA space, who would I consider two-way players? On the perimeter, there actually ain't that many. Jackie Young is a two-way player. Jackie Young is a two-way player. There are bigs who are two-way players in the WNBA. Asia Wilson and Nafisa Collier, Brianna Stewart, two-way players. And then, it took on a life of its own outside of that because of the debate on X. And I'm not trying to pick on Megan here, who I've met and is lovely, but her post is the one that blew up. And you have this account asked, quick question before I get out of here. How do you all define a two-way player? What do you consider a two-way player currently in the W? And number one, 3-level scorer, facilitator, rebounds, accurate passes, good defender. And then there's a list there. And, a few of these things are not like the other. Like, you can't say 3-level scorer and then say Alyssa Thomas or Gabby Williams, who I love, by the way, but not a 3-level scorer. In fact, a 3-level scorer is also not something you just throw around, right? Like, a 3-level scorer means you can score at the rim, you can score from the mid-range, and you can score from the outside threes, right? And so Paige Bueckers is a 3-level scorer for sure. I would definitely consider her a 3-level scorer. There ain't even Caitlin Clark. I almost hesitate on 3-level scorer just because she's not that great in the mid-range. She's such a terrific scorer and so explosive. In fact, she's elite at the rim, and obviously she's elite from three. Mid-range is a place she can stand to improve and get better at. Ultimately, she probably is, because she's still good enough in that range compared to a lot of people. But, it shows you the hesitation. And, if someone were to call Caitlin Clark a two-way player, people would have a complete conniption about it. They would, throw a fit of epic proportions. They might protest in the streets if that were to happen. And Caitlin Clark is not a two-way player. Let me first be very clear about that. not a two-way player. But is Paige Bueckers so much better defensively than Caitlin Clark is? Is she? I mean, we're demonstrably so much better. Let me look at the on-off court data right now. I'm just curious. Like, I'm legit curious how it looks and how it comes out. Let's go to the teams. Indiana Fever. Well, we can't use this year really because Caitlin Clark didn't play. It's tough. I'll even go back to last year. I want to see some of the on-off court data from 2024. I'm on the Indiana Fever right now. Let's do advanced. All right. So defensive rating for the Fever was better. Yeah. I mean, Caitlin Clark's defensive rating was pretty good in 2024. She blocked a lot of shots and got a lot of steals. And if you see it right there, defensive rating 99.5. And I mean, you see the swing and net rating with her on the floor. Obviously, offensive rating is going to be good, but she did pretty well. They did pretty well defensively when she was on the floor. So maybe not as much a liability as everyone would say. And then let's look at Paige last year, who I'm sure did well. Don't get me wrong. This is not I'm not trying to take shots at Paige or anything. It's just, it's funny. It was amusing to me, the reaction to it, considering, I don't think most people would describe Paige Bueckers as some sort of defensive stalwart. And, defense is always hard to measure because traditional stats don't necessarily tell the story. I mean, so yeah, you look at Dallas, and they sucked across the board, right? But with Paige Bueckers on the floor, where is she? She just disappear here? I could have swore I just had her on there. 2025. There's Paige. 107 defensive rating. And you look at Dallas and their defensive ratings were dreadful up and down the board. I mean, look at this. Some of these players barely played, so that's noise in the data set. But, Paige's net rating was minus 3.7, which is better than a lot of the other players on the team, but still getting scored a lot. And now that's the team. So you can't really, it's very difficult to, what was the defensive rating with her off the court? It's very difficult to capture this, so it got much worse even with her off the court. So they were better defensively with Paige on the court than off the court. But point being, I don't think, I don't think there's a huge difference in Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers' defense, a huge difference. If you want to say Paige is a better defender, fine. I think Caitlin is a better shot blocker and maybe better getting steals and going out in transition and getting things started defense to offense. Maybe Paige is more fundamentally sound and all that. But no one in their right mind would call Caitlin Clark a two-way player. And neither would I. So, it just was funny to me that was the thing that people got so insulted about when it's the most innocuous criticism ever. It's there's barely anything. And people were all up in arms as if Candace Parker was being some sort of epic hater and taking uncalled for shots at Paige Bueckers. But yeah, that was all. I was just having a little fun today. Very, very low leverage topic. Just figured we'd talk some hoops, talk some ball. And it does does go to show you sometimes how the women's basketball space can be. and how sensitive and frazzled folks can get for almost no reason. Get those comments in, likes, subscribes, all that stuff. See it right here. Member chats, super chats go first. Get to the members. Kevin calling back to the beginning of the show. Currently watching Lundberg watch Lundberg. Yeah, I did that a little bit earlier. He's got a crush on Kelsey Plum. Brings up quite frequently. Why is it that you like Kelsey Plum so much? Okay, well, I just said he has a crush on her. I led and then, you know. Joe Lala says, what, no CBA talk? Aren't you gnashing your teeth? We could talk about the CBA. I did the whole episode on Monday about the CBA, and I just don't have anything really new to say. I don't have, anything revelatory. I'm guessing at this point, they're not going to get a deal done that, by tomorrow, if I had to guess. I don't think they're going to get a deal done by tomorrow. But as far as that goes, you have seen some more positive talk from the players' side as of late. Brianna Stewart yesterday said this about the CBA, which is a bit of a change in tone, I think, from the players' side of things.
Timeline's running down the CBA deadline. What's your level of confidence that a deal gets done, and what's a realistic timeline for that, if not within the next 3 days?
Yeah, the next 3 days is tough for sure. I am very confident that we will get a deal done. It's kind of unfortunate that it's taken this long, but hopefully we're going to be able to turn the page soon and really kind of get deep into all the negotiations that we've been struggling to agree on.
So I've also read, I think I just saw this come across my timeline, that they aren't deep into the negotiations right now, or they haven't really shared proposals. Here's the headline from Ben Pickman right here. Despite the January 9th deadline approaching, neither the WNBA nor the WNBA PA have offered an extension of the CBA to the other party as of Thursday morning. So we'll see. I've said about the CBA, it couldn't be more important. It couldn't be more significant. They can't screw this up. It's got to be taken care of. It's got to be solved. If they're not on the court, it's a facepalm of epic proportions. It's a an own goal, however you want to put it, that could destroy the league. So you got to get it done. I got nothing else to say. They just need to find the number that it's basically find the freaking revenue share number. What is it? 20, 21, 22? 23, 24, 25. The players have said 30. The league has said 15. That's 23.5, I think. Land there and get it done. Otherwise, enough. She did add, just kidding. I think that management is signaling that they're close to their bottom line. No one needs to be super concerned, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think I think they're going to get it done. They'll probably delay it slightly. They'll probably start to really fundament. But once they have those numbers done, the rest of it is just fine print, essentially. Once they agree on the overall pay and the revenue share, the rest will come together easily. But I did a whole, if you guys want more extended thoughts on that, check out the live stream on Monday. I've done a bunch of different videos on it, so you can go check those out as well if you want more extended thoughts on that. Ernesto talking some trash to Kevin. Sophie Cunningham is my girl. And then he said the Hawks got a bag of rocks for that trade. Yeah, the Trae Young on the NBA side of things, that I think that was a good move for the Wizards, to be honest. I mean, I know Trae Young's value is kind of in the toilet right now. And obviously there wasn't a huge market for him, but that is a really good player for the Wizards to get for essentially nothing. And the Washington Wizards have had no reason to watch them or care about them or pay attention to them in quite a while, right? Like, so it's a high upside play with basically no downside for the Wizards to make that move. And Trae Young is still a talented player. You know, he's not like, I mean, who is even on the Washington Wizards, right? Like, that's the kind of thing that it just adds something to the team. It's a team of relatively unknown players, and you got a guy who at least is going to score and assist the basketball and make for a more entertaining watch. So I feel like the Wizards did well there, basically giving up nothing. Diana says, I need a season I can watch avidly to avoid addressing the economy and other pressing issues. The Mets just weren't cutting it alone. Oh, you're a Mets fan, Diana. Good to see. Good to know. We got other, I think Ernesto's a Mets fan too. That's why I was bringing that up. Member chat, super chats go first. I think Paige would laugh and agree with Candace, says twofold here. And, you know, that certainly the case. And then I did write an article on Women's Fast Break on SI this morning. And that was related to trading cards. My guy AJ, who I don't see in the chat today, is a huge trading card guy, Hammer Time Hits and the like. Kevin, not a big fan of the Mets. Ernesto is a Mets fan. But I did think this was kind of crazy when you look at it. Like, my son is really into trading cards right now. And if you go and check out the map here from PSA, the most graded trading cards, look at basketball. Caitlin Clark dominating, running the map, and that's over Cooper Flagg and Victor Wembanyama and LeBron James and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This is why I've made the case that she's not just the face of the WNBA, but the face of basketball in general. I'm going to address a chat because the guy keeps dropping it in here, acting as if I'm afraid to address it. I think he's trying to, like, look at me, but I will address it, and I have addressed it, and I'll do it again because you're spamming the chat with it. Why do you refuse to address the racial dynamics that contributed to CC's rise in women's basketball? I don't think racial dynamics have much at all to do with CC's rise in women's basketball. Or at least I think they are far down the line. Let's put it that way. Can race play or have an effect in something like this? Of course. Let's call it the Eminem effect, right? When Eminem burst on the scene in the late 90s, there was, and I saw it firsthand, a level of relatability with the white bros and Eminem. The heavy metal fans or whatever. I saw like saying they like Eminem, but they don't like other rap or whatever. I'm like, why is that? So there is a certain aspect of that. I mean, and Eminem's touched on it himself. And, White Boy Blossom, after Dre endorsed him, is flowing Renegade, awesome. And Eminem is supremely talented. So that was the number one thing. I think for Eminem, it was probably harder for him to break into the scene because he was a white rapper. But once he did break into the scene, he benefited from being a white rapper to an extent to help with the sales and whatever. And, there's that. So can there be a level of relatability in being a white player that white kids can see in a sport that has been predominantly dominated by black players? Sure. Now, in the NBA, I don't hear that brought up very much. Maybe, there hasn't been a transcendent star of the white variety since Larry Bird, and race was more of a dynamic in the Bird and Magic era, and certainly played a role there. But you don't really hear it brought up that much. But like I said, there haven't been that many great white players. The difference on the WNBA side is, as much as black players make up a large segment of the overall talent pool, white players, for whatever reason, have actually occupied a greater share of the top players in the WNBA before Caitlin Clark. There have been lots of great white players. Lots of them. And none of them had the impact Caitlin Clark did. It's Sue Bird, great white player. Breanna Stewart, great white player. Sabrina Ionescu, great white player. Diana Taurasi, so on and so forth. You can go back and, Lauren Jackson, how many different examples do you need? Why? No, not all American, whatever. So what? So then people like to throw the sexuality. I mean, Sabrina Ionescu, white and straight. I had no idea. Some of these players were not straight, or I didn't care until I found out later or saw later. So with Caitlin Clark, the number one, and I have a lot more on this coming, by the way. Caitlin Clark, the number one factor behind her rise was she's more exciting to watch play basketball than anybody else. You watch her, you go, oh shit. Like I never seen a girl do that. That's different. And she brought dudes over. She brought NBA fans over. So that was number one. And then, is there okay, she's from the middle of nowhere or whatever, like from anywhere? Is that a factor? She didn't go to the blue blood school. She didn't go to UConn. Fine. Can that factor? But do I think Caitlin Clark being white is the driving force behind her popularity? No. Show me the person who she's more popular than that is exciting to watch play. And then there's this thing too. I mean, I'm not going to acknowledge all the trolls. I'm going to move on. But no, her fans aren't racist. No. Her fans are not racist. As a whole. Are there racist fans in there? Sure. There are racist fans, but the idea, the broad brushstroke narrative, it needs to stop. Shut up. All right? Like when you have this many people who have come into a sport to set record ratings, record attendance, she's popular across the globe, trading card submission. You think it's only racists sending in their trading cards to get graded so that the price goes up. It's nonsense. And it's just ugly and really resentful. That's it. That's all I got. Kevin says, I feel like the NBA does have its great white superstar, Tyler Kolek. Rick says, hey, Robin, do you think any of the players will give CC any credit for the huge pay increase? I mean, I think whether it's direct or not, Nafisa Collier has already sort of done it by bringing her up. She doesn't bring her up by accident. She doesn't bring her up by accident. When she used her as an example with the commissioner and then Again, about the pay debate. And I've joked that the shirt should say, pay us what you owe her. So any other comments, member chats, super chats, get them in. Ernesto saying that Eminem is better than Jay-Z. Look, I mean, Eminem is one of the only people who you can float into the conversation like that. But Eminem does not have, in my opinion, the catalog Jay-Z has or the versatility Jay-Z has. But we could, to me, the three greatest rappers of all time are Jay-Z, Eminem, and Kendrick Lamar. Full stop. I don't have to think about it. Three greatest rappers of all time. Mike Johnson says exactly, plain and simple. She is super exciting to watch. I got hooked when I watched her for the first time. This is about Caitlin, of course. Her game stood out, and at the time, I didn't know a lot about women's basketball. We were acting like Caitlin Clark doesn't have tons of black fans and lesbian fans and gay, straight, white, Asian in between. Like, I mean, come on. So naive. What took my hood pass away? My rap opinion or something else? And who, argue better, argue back. Eminem was not brought to the public by Space Jam. Did you know that Jay-Z wrote Bugs Bunny's rap in Space Jam? That's a fact. He also wrote Still DRE, the iconic West Coast anthem. Here's another. It's not so. Do you realize comments mean nothing online? This is like people look at comments and they think that's the amount of people, the percentage of people, the sample of people that are actually, and I appreciate all the comments on my channel. The percentage of people that are actually in the comment section is so small relative to the broader group. And you get people that like to try and, they're called trolls for a reason, start stuff up and stir up arguments and all that stuff. They're not the ones buying the tickets or setting the record ratings or in this chat having friendly discussions too in the comments. Like, I mean, come on. A smattering of comments is not a representative sample of the most people who are watching and consuming are not on YouTube watching videos. They're not on social media typing on Twitter and X. Cobb says, update on your project. When's it coming out? Should CC fans be skeptical of Sue Bird? She and her guests like throwing shade at CCFC. So the project, I think I should be able to give an update by the end of the month on that. But this year, let's put it that way, around the time of the WNBA season. I think I can say that. And I should be able to give you specifics, I would hope, by the end of this month. As far as being skeptical of Sue Bird, I don't know, like, in what sense. If you want to say, if you want to say skeptical as a content creator, okay. I don't think Sue Bird is going to, hold a grudge against Caitlin Clark on Team USA. And look, Sue Bird plays the content game in the same sense where Caitlin Clark topics are going to drive more conversation. Like it works, but the people who claim to hate Caitlin Clark talk about her the most. And I'm not talking about Sue, but in general, that works. Like it gets more clicks, right? There has been a lot of attention paid to the popularity and the root of it and that. And I know it came up with the Katie Nolan thing, but my answer is skeptical of Sue Bird. No, I wouldn't be skeptical of Sue Bird as a basketball legend, a basketball talent evaluator. or her motives. If you want to not like something that's said on her show or her perspective on something or how she came about with what she said, yeah, that's different. And you're entitled to that. Yeah, social media is not real life. Sophie's podcast apparently coming out. It's true that people that make these comments on YouTube channels are a small sample and don't reflect the larger group that stay up. Yeah, and then also some of these channels feed into it, right? Let's be real about it. Some of these channels are basically rage bait and, sensationalized and all that stuff. So you're just more likely to see complaints versus positive support versus, all the people in here. And I would have never, like so many in a million years. Look, I'll have an honest conversation about anything, but I was like, I never, when I first was exposed to Caitlin Clark, I wasn't thinking, look at this white girl. Like, it would never entered my mind that would become such a, talking point, I guess. Didn't strike me that way. All right, any more member chats, super chats? Get them in. Anybody else want to weigh in? But I just thought I'd join, have a little fun, get those likes and subscribes in as well. Nothing serious. Definitely not a high leverage show. It was the hubby that brought this girl to my attention. Yeah, I mean, I remember my boss at the time at SI telling me, like, you have to check this girl out. You got to do a video on this girl, and that was before the Angel Reese thing. And part of that project, I reference, we'll get to some of this. I know I see some questions on the CBA. I think they're going to get a deal done. Do I think it happens by tomorrow at this point? Probably not, unless they do something like say, hey, this has been agreed to in principle, essentially, like these points, and we're going to work out the rest, but we'll go business as usual in the meantime. They could do something like that. Otherwise, I think maybe a short extension. Like, subscribe, please, por favor. Who are you talking about, Vincent? I mean, I've seen plenty of. Is it some of the comments I put on screen? Are you referencing? Oh, goodness. I mean, yeah, more or less, I agree with this. Nothing, I guess I wouldn't say nothing necessarily, but very little, or a small part of the reason, right? See you, Ernesto. It's funny, I hosted Mike and Mike back in the day, and I guest hosted like a fill-in, and it was the day Bomani was on there wearing the Caucasians shirt. That got all that attention that day. But yeah, we talked to. I mean, I know him a little bit, but maybe that would make for an interesting. I feel like it's the same topic over and over again, but people seem to be interested in it. Sure. I'm not. I'm open to discussion and exploring topics for sure. I've given my opinion on it plenty. I'm starving, by the way. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. I'm gonna have to go do that in a minute. Get them in any other chats. Otherwise, going to wrap this puppy up for today. The great two-way player debate. Check out all the other videos on the channel. Let me know anything else you would want me to cover, or, anything I can do for the members, of course, as well. Happy to get that done and do that. But yeah, just, trying to get back into the groove of doing some live shows here. And I thought that was a fun little topic to delve into, to at least break the ice and get a conversation rolling. There's still plenty of you in here. So if anybody else has any other chats, get them in, and I will get to them quickly here before I sign off. And make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and all those good things as well. See if I missed any member chats real quick. Appreciate all y'all. Oh, what do you want to do? So you love the furniture in the background. You want me to change the background? What do you guys? You guys can play the set designer. It's bothered me for the longest time, to be honest with you. It is too white. You're right. I was thinking acoustic board. Hold on. Panel. What about something like this? Something like this? Like just, so I don't have to overthink it? Is that showing up? Hold on. These. Something like that? What do you guys think? I will pay somebody to help me do it and just take the decision out of my hands and figure it out. Robin, do you think the Fever will look for players like Sykes, Burrell, and Hayes? Yeah. I mean, I like Azare Stevens, even like Shakira Austin, maybe. They need a stretch four more than anything else. Roman Reigns and Bianca Belair. Those are my picks. Roman Reigns and Bianca Belair. You need me to wrap my stream up? All right, thank you. Where are you going? All right. That's about all I got, I think, for today. But yeah. And I don't even know how, like, interior designing is not my thing, but I've been meaning to do it for the longest time. And I just got so used to the setup and everything. And this is my office and whatnot. Like, but I hear you. I got to do it. Got to get it done in short order. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. I don't even know, like, from what I pulled up, my anxiety is going crazy now. How I would even style it, but I hear you. I was in Maryland. I was at my in-laws' house, just in a bedroom there, just like the couch sunk into, it hurt my back to sit there. But that's where I was doing the videos from at that point in time. Give the kids a paintbrush. Yeah, they could just splash up the wall. All right, y'all. That'll do it for today. Appreciate everybody. Appreciate the chat. Appreciate the members. Let me know what you would like to do as a member. Maybe I'll outsource it to the community post and get some feedback from you guys. Until the next one, eat.